is our brains, how it works is if we've been in an experience when we were young that feel unsafe, and our brain learns for survival that situation is unsafe, and it clicks on this fight flight response. So to face a situation with that whole experience and do the opposite, which normally is going to create a drop in your dopamine levels, it's going to create all the things that you're not being told to do or naturally do. It can be very, very hard.
Welcome to the We Ain't Normal podcast, where each week we share the best tools to help neurodiverse moms navigate life so you can enjoy more flow, focus, and freedom to live your best life yet. And now, here's your host, Charmaine Fuller.
Are you feeling buried under a list of things to do that seem to have no end in sight? Do you feel like if you slow down or stop, things will fall apart? Are you feeling like you're consistently missing the mark or dropping the ball in the most important areas of your life? Well, that's why the Simplify My Schedule workshop was created. Simplify My Schedule is designed to help you uncover the secret to creating a schedule that keeps you focused and in flow. To learn more, go to thecharmedlife.me/workshop and sign up for the next workshop session. I'll see you there. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the We Ain't Normal show. Today, I have Carli, and we are going to be talking about some of the limiting beliefs that might be keeping you from staying motivated. Everything is such a mindset flip, right? You know, even if your brain operates differently, all of our brains operate differently. So you have to know what are some of the things that you can do to help you keep you motivated. And Carli is awesome. She works with moms, helping them to reprogram some of the beliefs that they have, create healthy, strong, and mindsets that work for them. Carli, could you please introduce yourself beyond that to the audience?
Sure. Thank you so much. So yes, I work with moms and children and families, and I use a modality called Psych K. And this is a really cool healing modality that allows you to access your subconscious beliefs. And then if they're testing weak, which I can get into a little bit more, it means that you have a fight-flight response towards that situation. And then by doing this process, you can clear it to feel strong, healthy, safe, and that as a result shifts the belief. I'm a former Montessori teacher, so I understand a lot about children, human development, and how they grow. And what I was seeing is that a lot of children, it wasn't actually that they had, issues with writing or reading or maths. It was that they had lack of confidence and limiting beliefs. And this created all this anxiety and stress. And the parents were feeling stressed because they were feeling triggered. And it led me to find this incredible modality. And I was like, this is actually the deeper work. It's not really about the learning. It's not really about specific subjects, because we're human, right? And we have all this information just so readily available, and our brains are always evolving. So this was kind of the work that I loved and went into, and that's where I'm at now.
So let's expound on something that you just said, where it's not just the surface thing. And I feel like, I know for myself, when something's in pain or, on a imaginary fire right in your life, all you see is this external piece that's poking at you. And we so often go to fix that surface layer external piece only to find out that we keep having the same fire to put out each and every time, that we never get to build this space of stasis of where we can have some flow in our life. Let's talk a bit about that deeper work, right? Because it's glossed over.
Yes, totally. So before the age of 7, in order to develop, you just absorb whatever is in your environment. So, children in India, they love spicy curries, and the language that we learn, we just take it on. As adults, we don't have this brain that absorbs. So if I wanted to learn a language, I couldn't just sit in the country and listen and take it on. I'd have to actively learn it. But this goes with all our limiting beliefs and emotions and experiences that we have as a child as well. So if we have parents that were emotionally unavailable, but those are our caregivers, we understand love as emotionally unavailable. And this goes with every type of subject. And it's also our perception to a situation. So if we have a really awful situation at a dinner table, we might connect that to eating or food. Food is unsafe. Food is scary. So then when we get into later ages, if it's a child or if it's an adult, whenever that situation ticks onto our brain like a little button, exactly what you said, it's there again. Okay, I've got an eating issue. I need to deal with, maybe changing my diet, or am I allergic to something? But there might be these, there always are these deeper rooted causes and issues that we have to kind of find to get to. And I have always, been this observer of humans, and I could see that really clearly. So and I'm sure other people can, but you're just like, what's more here? What's happening here?
Yes.
And just when you peel back those layers and you get to that, and you get to that deep rooted cause, that creates that freedom that will save you all this trial and error on what you said, the surface level. And it's really frustrating because people are like, I've tried everything. Like, I've tried this, I've tried that, I want to do that. But they haven't looked at the self-worth, the confidence, the deeper rooted,
that underbelly,
maybe trauma or anxiety or stress that flicks on. And it's also subconscious. So some people are quite conscious of it. They're like, I know this pattern that keeps on coming on. I'm the common denominator. But they don't know how to shift and change it.
Because changing a paradigm that you've been carrying with you, and you and I kind of talked about this since you were about, 5, 6, 7 years old, feels daunting. Like that's not a task that many can take on by themselves, right? What is one of the patterns that you see the most that often shows up in women, and how can they begin to notice that, have that awareness and start to break it down?
Awesome. So there's a couple. In terms of mothers, there's a lot of mother guilt. So a lot of guilt. And I think that's with not only mothers, it's everyone. It's this people pleaser that comes up. I need to push down my true self and who I am and what I love and say what I want to think, in case I'm going to hurt someone else, in case I'm not going to give enough time to someone else, in case I'm going to be ridiculed for being who I am. And that comes from either a specific situation that happened, resulting in this lack of confidence and anxiety to be your own person. Yeah. And you might even know it on a conscious level. You're like, I know that if I just share who I am and I'm confident about it, it will help everyone else. But you still go into a little bit of but
what if they don't like me? Or what if they say I'm being too needy, or, I'm not being nice, or, mm-hmm. We psych ourselves out of pretty much a lot of things that could set us free. I don't know if you've seen, I don't know if it's a documentary or what, with Chris Hemsworth. I always get Chris and Liam confused. But I think it's Chris Thor. And I didn't know he had that type of anxiety. But as you watch Limitless on Disney Plus, and how he talks about the mind and how you can psych yourself out, air quotes, psych yourself out, to switching your mindset to one that's going to support you. That takes support. It takes a willingness to want to change as well, right?
Totally, yeah. And it's so funny that you say that, because I haven't seen Limitless yet, except where I live, Chris Hemsworth also lives here. And I work with parents and children, and the children are like, I love Limitless. I've gotten into things because of Chris Hemsworth. So it's just so funny that he's the person that you brought up. But exactly, really, to do with anything, we need to get over our minds and that experience that we create before we do it. And it's with anything if it's cooking or if it's washing, if it's anything mundane, you can go to it being like, I'm going to learn a new skill. I'm going to do this. I'm going to put on a podcast while I do it. Or you can be like, I dread this. I hate this. I'm bad at it. And that prior mindset shapes that experience.
Exactly. And so, ladies, if you have been listening to this whole piece of this first half of the second season, Carli, what you just said has been a reoccurring theme from all of my guests. She has just been verified and bona fide. You get to choose. You get to really choose your mindset. And if you go into something with already feeling defeated, then that's how it's going to come out. Feeling like life is going so fast that if you slowed down, it would all fall apart. If you always feel like you're going somewhere but never getting anywhere good, the Simplify My Schedule workshop is just what you need to get life back in flow. To learn more, go to thecharmedlife.me/workshop to sign up for the next workshop session. I'll see you there. Now, back to our show. I tell you, it's the only way I can say this, the biggest mind fuck possible when you are telling yourself, okay, this is going to be great. And your old belief system are going, girl, no, it's not. It's going to be horrible. Just accept it's going to be horrible. And you're like, no, this is going to really be great. And so you have to gas yourself up and, but that's so intentional. And so the pieces that Carli is talking about, this is not a passive activity. When you are working to create any type of growth, change, motivation in your life, it's intentional. It's not hard, but it's intentional. Does that make sense?
That makes total sense. And I can go a little bit into the science of that. Is our brains, how it works is if we've been in an experience when we were young that feel unsafe, like there is a lion in the room, we've got to run, we just do it. And our brain learns for survival that situation is unsafe, and it clicks on this fight flight response. So it is very hard because our whole body, our whole brain is like, there is a fire, there is a lion, you better get out of this situation. So to face a situation with that whole experience and do the opposite, which normally is going to create a drop in your dopamine levels, it's going to create all the things that you're not being told to do or naturally do. It can be very, very hard. And with talk therapy, you can start understanding this. But with processes like Psych-K, it actually shifts very, very quickly. Because once you become whole-brained or feel safe in that situation, then that scenario doesn't exist. So you might go into a situation where you have social anxiety and you clear your limiting beliefs around social anxiety or guilt, like we've just been speaking about, and then you've trained your body to now stop that fight-flight response. Then it's really easy because it's like, oh, my body is not going into that response that it's used to doing. And it's a bit funny and weird. And when people do processes like this, they're like, oh, things have shifted and changed. And like, that person now just verified to me that I have really good advice and I am confident when I speak. And I've always thought I'm really bad at speaking. And then you're like, oh, whoa, I've changed. I've shifted. This is safe. You get that confirmation bias that your subconscious is always bringing out. Looking for.
This is one of those things when you talked about the dopamine. So for people that are neurodivergent, specifically those that often fall in that ADHD spectrum, this explains why when you're stressed, you're not really motivated, like your dopamine is shot. And so managing your stress, your anxiety is like almost paramount to your thriving and growing and being able to exist. And that makes so much sense. Like, it's like, oh my gosh, like everyone when they're stressed is really not that motivated because I don't know how, with stress, it's like everything is everywhere all at once. Your
brain, it's like it's not interconnected and calm and talking. It's rattled, It's scattered.
It's everywhere. And so you think you're doing a lot of things, but you're really not, you're not really on track, if that makes any sense. And so what you said about that, and that things, when you are in that state, how it just affects your entire body is so important that we tie that in, is that you just feeling stressed and overwhelmed, or feeling mom guilt, or feeling like you're dropping the ball all the time doesn't support you, because it's just bringing on more stress.
Totally. And exactly what you said about like ADHD or dyslexia, or any children that get labeled something and then they have all these other issues around connected to that label. I work with children, I work with parents, and okay, they might have ADHD, but that is one specific thing. And as a result, they have all this trauma and flight experiences.
Yes.
And once you remove that and clear that, that person is this incredible person who's much calmer and respected, and can actually do those things that they've been told they can't do or they're not good at. Because actually, it's not that they can't do it. It's that as soon as they go to do that thing, they have this fight flight response to it. Yeah. That's like, and I've seen this. I've worked with children who've had dyslexia. They came into a mainstream school system that didn't support their brain, and everything was too fast. The words, the letters were everywhere. It scrambled their brain. Then there's a teacher being like, you need to do this, or you're not going to be good.
Or you're not going to go out to recess. And
exactly. And even if they're really super kind, because teachers are kind, that's the energy of the room. You're going to fail if you don't do this thing. And a child feels that. They're intuitive. They feel all that pressure. And this is this knock-on effect. And then a few years later, there's something really wrong with them. And I have sat down with children and worked through these, disbeliefs and limiting beliefs, and they are in a calm state and they just start reading, and they are reading perfectly. Before they're like, then they can see it. They're calm. They're actually very able to do this. But when we create this like limiting beliefs on top of these limiting labels, it really creates all this stress and trauma, and it just compiles. And they're bad at writing, they're bad at reading, they're bad at concentrating, they're bad at all these things, but actually their brain's just different, and we around them need to support that brain with calm and happiness, knowing that they'll turn out to be amazing creative beings, and then that's when they can thrive.
So let's flip this to momhood, right? Because the same principles can apply to mothering, to being a woman, to, the same principles can apply, because often we have all of the stuff that we've packed on. And then as life continues to go, we pack more stuff on top of that. When what I hear you saying is, when we pull everything back, when we slow down, then all the pieces begin to flow together. As an adult, and just like as a kid, 5 years ago, if you would have told me to slow down and pull things out, I would have lost my mind, because it was like, no, if I slow down, everything's going to fall apart, and then blah, 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 blah. But then I realized the inverse, like that's not true. If I slow down and I become more intentional, then things flow, and then I don't have to rush, and I don't have to feel under pressure. Like, that's the contradiction, because what the world tells us is we have to hurry, or we're going to be late, or we're going to be last, or we're going to fail, when the reverse is true.
Totally. And it's really funny, even how I came to Psych K, I was in a really, really anxious space in my life. And someone's like, you've got to do this thing with me. You've got to try this course. And I was like, no, I'm too busy. I've got all this stuff going on. And like, I couldn't listen. I wasn't whole brained. I was in this sense of trauma, but it ended up leading that I got to this place, and I did this course. And after 3 days of this course, I came home and understood the limiting beliefs about why I was in this job. And 4 days later, I resigned from my job. So sometimes you just need a push to so bad to get to that point. And it is hard because other people have walked that path or who can see it from an outsider perspective. It's just like, you just need to slow down. You need to calm down. And it's like, well, I think that there's a bear in the room and I'm in this fight. Like, it's hard to do that. But it is there. Once you just clear it, it's this very quick shift. And in terms of motherhood, children feel and you model. So as soon as you start clearing this and understanding your projections onto them and what your fear is really about, and it's almost made up, then it supports you, it supports your whole family.
Yeah.
And like, it's this beautiful knock-on effect, and it's just bringing yourself back to you and back to your real person and what you need and what you desire, and then supporting your children and your family to do that as well.
So I'm curious, what is Psych K?
Okay, so Psych K is a modality. It was, the originator is Rob Williams. It came to him, and you basically test your subconscious beliefs. So me and you are now talking with our conscious, and 95% of our brain is our subconscious, and that's our instincts. That's the thing that is taking on everything else going on. You know, the little thoughts in our head. Maybe, you know, if you're like, the weather's always bad, you're feeling the weather subconsciously being like, yeah, the weather's really bad today because the weather's always bad. So it's connecting to that part of your brain, and you do that through muscle testing. So muscle testing is when a lot of people do muscle testing, you know, towards testing for a specific amount of like a medicine or a homeopath, or it might be connected to body joints. So this is connected to your limiting beliefs. So if someone comes to me and they're like, I feel really anxious about this situation, I feel like I'm a failure, I'll test, I can be a success in my job, say it's about their job. And if that's testing weak, their subconscious believes that, and then that confirmation bias is always showing.
Wow.
So that's how we test it. And then if it's testing weak, it means success is connected to a fight flight response. Your body feels unsafe. It's new territory. So then we do a whole brain integration activity, which is connecting your right and your left hemisphere of your brain towards that specific statement or situation. And then by doing that, you become whole brained or calm. So
wow.
Yeah, so it's really cool. You feel it automatically in the process. Because if you're feeling really anxious about something, you feel your body go from being in that anxious state to feeling completely calm. Just like you would if you sat in a situation and you started taking really big, deep breaths.
That is super cool.
It's super cool. And then you go to do the situation before that gave you anxiety and switched on that, I can't be a success in this job or in this subject or in whatever activity is, and then you're like, oh, I'm not getting that same response. So you feel it in the process, and then you feel the subconscious change. So that's how Psych K works. And Bruce Lipton, he has been incredible in that, because he's really brought the science and understanding about how our genes, epigenetics, is that your genes change in terms of environmental causes. So whatever our mind tells our body to do is what it will do. So if you can shift and change your beliefs in your mind, it will shift what your body responds. And he did this with genes in petri dishes. So he's got this scientific proof, and they've done a lot of studies to show how in Psych K, your brain mapping, it shifts and changes towards something you felt really scared and fearful and anxious about, to then feeling really calm and whole-brained. And we know if we write an exam, right, and you're going to do it and you go in confident and calm, you're going to flow in it. If you go with stress and anxiety, I don't know if I'm going to do it right, and then you don't perform as well.
I love nerdy talk about like the brain and stuff like that. You know, I know I didn't, so I can't talk about anybody else, but I didn't understand like the mind-body connection, not necessarily the brain, because the brain is the mechanism that the mind uses in order to make things flow. But controlling my mind was like one of the biggest challenges because everything in life is so noisy, and really back to intention, being aware that I'm kind of being led in all these different directions, and then creating intention to do something else is not an overnight process. Like, I don't want anybody listening today. And this is a thing, I've been saying this throughout this season. This podcast is not about overnight life hack. Let's get quick, microwave it fast. I know that's what we want because that's what we see all the time, but real change, real growth, real joy, like all of those pieces take consistent work, take intentionality, take you being aware, take you making mistakes and giving yourself grace in that process. So everything that Carli has shared with us, look, I want you to connect with her. Where can they find you in these internet streets, Carli?
So you can find me on social media, carli.saber, or I'm sure you'll put my Facebook, which is Carli Sarah. Sarah's my middle name, and my website. You can connect with me if you feel like it would be a good fit, or you're wanting to understand the process more. I offer a free discovery call so we can chat and I can see if I can help you. And if you are anywhere around the world, I can do sessions with you on Zoom. So it's just as effective and supportive worldwide, which is incredible about my job. So people can find me anywhere, and I put up content on my Instagram, on my Facebook a couple of times a week, which I'm a bit dodgy at, but I feel still passionate to get my word out and share what I know, if it's in terms of human development in children or mindfulness and the brain, and how we can, just like you said, understand our brain more, come to it and deal with this process that is an ever-going process that doesn't shift overnight.
No.
And as soon as you think that it has, you're like, wow, I've manifested everything in my life.
And then it's like
game level up, new level. You've entered the new level. Okay, now there's going to be like dragons, and
the universe is like, I got you, girl. Let's do something different.
But it's growth, right? And humans love to work. We were
built to do this. Yes.
We have evolved the way we have because we have our hands and our imagination, and we love to create. And we all have our special things that we love to work on. And if we share our passions and we contribute, we're creating this incredible supportive community.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Carli. Make sure you connect with her on social media, on her website. All of her deets will be in the show notes below or to the side, wherever you're watching or listening to this at. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe so that other mamas can get their freedom and flow as well. Until I see you again, stay weird, and we'll catch you next time. Bye. Thanks for listening to the We Ain't Normal show. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe so that other neurodiverse moms can feel seen, heard, and supported in their journey. Until next time, remember, stay weird, and I'll see you on the next episode. Coming up next time on the We Ain't Normal show.
Biggest thing for me was realizing what internal boundaries are. So boundaries, not physically, not physical boundaries. I think that's more clear, but internal boundaries. So what are internal boundaries? So more so of not what you tell people you are or are not going to expect of them, or not putting rules for people, but setting those rules up for yourself.
Want more of this episode? Make sure your podcast notifications are on and you're a part of the We Ain't Normal family by going to thecharmedlife.show to get weekly podcast updates and notifications. I'll see you there.